Howdy, what's up guys, Bo here again. And in today's entry, and the series of entries that's going to go from this entry, I want to talk about what happens when you have a society of people who aren't present, right? So I introduced this concept of presence in an earlier entry. And basically presence is all about being completely open and you could say unconditionally accepting of how of our realities, right? Both our external and our internal realities, you know, and taking in all the good and all the bad, right? So, you know, I talk about this idea of tapping into your sensitivity a lot, right? And that's ultimately what it means, you know, is to be sensitive to everything that we perceive and feel, you know. So basically what happens when we have a society that's built around the opposite of presence, right? And the opposite of presence, right, is disconnection, right? So in this entry I want to talk about in particular the principle, well, the idea of lying, right? The kind of you know, the kind of concept of lying, right? And lying, you know, I don't really have to explain what lying means, but essentially, lying is the kind of avoidance of the truth. So it is to disconnect oneself from the truth, right? And it might seem in the moment, if you make a lie up and you tell someone a lie, you know, you lie in your everyday life, you know, for some reason, then that lie is not, it seems like you're doing that lie to someone else, but really when you lie, you're also lying to yourself, right? Because you cannot lie and make it convincing without, you know, yourself investing something into the lie, right? You have to invest some kind of amount of your energy towards creating and then maintaining a lie, right? So lying, well, from a you could say a universal perspective, you know, from a kind of overarching big picture perspective, lying is never really going to help you in the end, right? Lying is basically, it is denial. You know, to lie is to be in denial. And if you're in denial, if you're disconnected from your higher self, you could say. So if you're disconnected from who you are, like authentically, you know, as a person, as a being, you know, with all of your kind of, you know, all that you are, the essence of who you are, right? Ultimately, if you lie, you're kind of consecrating, is that the right word? You're basically defying yourself, you know, you're dishonoring yourself, right? And that's always going to end badly, you know, if you're doing that, right? But, right, the thing with lying is that essentially our society is built around it, right? Our society is built around lies, you know. So, from a societal perspective, like from a kind of, you know, the typical person in society's mindset, right, lying is useful at times, right? And we find ourselves, you know, lying all the time in society. But it's curious because we're taught from an early age in school that lying is wrong, right? Lying is immoral, you know, we shouldn't do it, you know, we should be punished, you know, I don't know about now, but when I was in school, you know, I was taught that, you know, lying was like one of the worst things you could do to anyone, you know. And I don't know if, yeah, so it might be different now because that could have just been my teachers, but, you know, essentially, you know, we're given this basically contradictory advice, this kind of contradictory paradigm whereby we have to lie in society to kind of get ahead, right, at times, but at the same time we're taught that lying is a very bad thing. So So we've got this kind of discrepancy. We've got this kind of mental discrepancy going on. And, this can be a problem. This can be a major problem. Like, using myself as an example, right? I don't like lying. Like, I really don't like lying. I wouldn't say that I'm a bad liar. Like, much to my kind of, misfortune, I find myself having to lie a lot. Well, basically, I was met with this conundrum whereby, I don't want to lie because I know the kind of overall big picture implications of lying. If you lie, then there is a danger, right? Every time you lie, right, there's a danger that you'll be found out. Obviously, that's the first thing, and the second thing is there's a danger that like the lie will become like kind of rooted into your identity. Like, you'll start to truly, when you start to truly believe in the lie, and like it becomes something that sustains you, like in life, in society, then that's a very, very dangerous place to be in, right? Yeah, so, but, I ultimately realized that, like, you can't really get by in life without lying sometimes. As kind of bad as that sounds, so I'm hoping you can see, like, the kind of inner turmoil that I'm feeling, and perhaps, you're feeling, everyone else is feeling, which is that, like, that you shouldn't lie. Like, it's not even that, like, the teachers, or your parents told you that lying was bad. It's just that you feel intuitively, your heart tells you that lying is wrong, and, like, there's nothing good that can come out of it. Whenever you tell someone, whenever you kind of get away with something, you tell a lie, you get away with something in someone else's expense, you lie in order to cover your own ass, that kind of thing, without owning up to it, that kind of thing. You feel it's bad, but then, like, your kind of self-preservation survival mechanism kicks in, and you do it anyway. And you don't know how to feel about it, because, like, you got away with it, like, you got away unscathed, but at the same time, you did something that was kind of immoral, right? So, it's like kind of, yeah, two worlds, like two separate worlds, like, violently clashing together. And, that's why that's why kind of society is so, one part of why society is like it is, there's so much kind of chaos. It's because people kind of have this conflict within them. And lying, we all like to think of ourselves as kind of, like generally good people, and that we don't lie too much, right? But that, with lying, lying is something, it's not kind of as clear cut as, a lot of us kind of come to believe. Lying is not, it can be as simple as, it's deliberately kind of telling someone something that isn't true, or, propagating something that isn't true. But lying is also, my phone died. Lying is also kind of more subtle. Like, lying doesn't have to be as obvious as that, right? Lying can be as ambiguous as not telling the truth, right? Because that's how, kind of a lot of society, and particularly, like corporate society, in terms of companies, corporations, that kind of thing, and the way that they market their products, their services, the way that, business is run, generally speaking, there's technicalities, right? So you don't, like, technically speaking, not telling the truth is not lying, technically speaking, right? If you withhold the truth, or if you exaggerate some part of the truth, when you present like a one-sided view of the truth, technically that's not lying, right? But from a universal perspective, it is lying, right? Whenever you do not honor some facet of truth, and you give favor to another set of another truth, then that is in effect lying, right? Technically, it's not lying, but like universally speaking, it is lying, right? And that is something that we have to come to accept and to understand and to apply, right? You know, because the thing is, what this does to people in society, like when we take certain things and we amplify them, and then we purposely kind of conceal other things, is we create a society that's very disconnected, right? We create a society that has a hierarchy, right? This is what it does, right? You create a society where there are people who have traits and things about them that are desirable, and you create people in society who have things that are undesirable, right? So you create a class system, right? You create like a hierarchy whereby some people are favored and some people aren't favored, right? And you know, and in this society, this societal model, it becomes very much about maintaining, well, the lies will beget more lies, like the concealment will beget more concealment, right? The disconnection will beget more disconnection. So let me explain a bit what I mean here. You know, so let's say, you know, the beauty industry, or like the entertainment industry, right? Those are like the two kind of most obvious examples of, like, you know, this kind of form of lying, right? It is that, like, they, in the beauty industry, you know, the way that they advertise is they use beautiful people. Like, they define, you know, a standard for beauty, and they throw it into people's faces, right? The same with the entertainment industry. They get people with, like, they get attractive people, and they package them and mold them, like, into this kind of almost impossible ideal sometimes. And that is what they push out to people. And people start to get the idea that perhaps they should be looking up to these people, and that this is the societal model, ideal of beauty and attractiveness and, you know, that kind of thing. So what this does is, like, you get girls, you know, you get females in society, for example, who look at these adverts, who look at, you know, these role models in the entertainment industry, and they think, I'm nothing like that, you know, I guess that means I'm ugly, you know, like, if all of my friends, all of my, you know, all of the people in society are looking up to these people, worshipping them like they're gods, then I guess that just means that I'm inherently flawed, right? Do you see what this does to people, right? So, and it's very subtle, you know, because this kind of thing is viewed as normal, you know, in society, which is fucking bullshit, you know, in all honesty. But yeah, so the more that we give attention to this kind of thing, you know, the more that we feed into the, you know, the whole kind of taking one aspect and kind of putting on a pedestal, and then taking another aspect and kind of like putting it in the trash pile, the more that we get it, you know, a separated society, you know, where people feel separated, there's no sense of community, you know, it's like, it's hierarchical, you know, it's like patriarchal, it's like competition based, you know, so that, you know, so basically, you know, it's like this kind of, what's it called? Like, yeah, like an internal war, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. So basically, what should we do, right? Well, obviously, we need to realize that we are okay the way we are, because a lot of the times it comes back to ourselves, right? It comes back to ourselves, and what we have been taught is unacceptable about ourselves, right? Because going back to the example of, like, these people that are marketed as beautiful and attractive, right? they're the worst off, right? Because they have to actively suppress sides of them that are unattractive, because like they're marketed and packaged in the way that they seem really attractive, you know, they seem ideal, they seem perfect, but they're not in reality. They're human, like they have flaws, like everyone has flaws, right? Flaws. But, you know, so basically what needs to happen is that we need to realize that, like, you know, worshipping like the, you know, certain traits above other traits is not helping us, right? It might be what drives society right now, but like I said, like the society is driven by disconnection, competition, you know, hierarchy, separation, right? So it's a sick society, you know, it's a disconnected society. It's like a society where everyone, it feels like everyone is out to get them, you know, there's no kind of sense of connection with other people. So basically, we need to get rid of the lie. We need to get rid of the idea that, like, there are aspects of us that are unattractive, right? Because think about it for a minute, right? Why does it matter if I'm like 5'2"? You know, really, why does it matter? Does that say anything about my ability to, like, inspire people? To, like, be a reliable, upstanding citizen? You know, I'm using that term, that kind of label loosely. But, you know, subjective, right? You know, what if, like, you know, I am not physically attractive, right? Does that like hamper my abilities to contribute to other people? You know, to help other people, to like to create value. You know, so what if I'm like not like, if I'm not popular, if people don't like, if like I don't have mass appeal, like if I can't follow the trend, you know, that's being set before me, like that doesn't say anything about like, you know, my passions, you know, my convictions, my dreams. So like, you know, yeah, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, we also have this obsession with, like, you know, the, you know, surface appearances, respectability, labels, you know, all of this like fucking vertical thinking bullshit. And we miss like the, you know, the whole point, which is that like we're all on the same boat and we all have something to offer. And the quicker that we realize that, the quicker this society is going to balance out, right? The quicker like we're going to feel less like, you know, we're incomplete, that like that we always constantly need something to feel complete. We always need to be improving ourselves to feel like we're worthy, you know? And, you know, like love would be more open, you know, like people would start to connect more, you know, people would start to, like, you know, like just like feel a sense of connection, because like, you know, they wouldn't have to like, they wouldn't have to like distance themselves from society to define themselves, or like, you know, like have to, you know, build themselves up in a certain way in order to be accepted by other people, and like accepted by like a certain clique of people that like have, you know, all of the resources, all of the favors, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, so, you know, we need to change the way that we perceive, you know, we perceive things, you know, because like again, like another perspective is like nothing is bad or good, right? From a universal perspective, nothing is good or bad, but we assign moral judgments to things, and we kind of like, yeah, and we take it to extremes, and, you know, it's in the long run it's hurting us. You know, imagine what it would be like if, like, you didn't have to hide anything. Like, you can just be yourself. And obviously, there's always going to be a degree. I'm going to be moving on to this in the next century, but there's always going to be a degree of like contrast. There's always going to be a degree of kind of pain and suffering, and like victimization, bullying. You know, like favoritism. That's never going to disappear completely. You know, because the possibility for that always exists. But, you know, what we can change is like, you know, how much focus we give to that. You know, we can start to consciously decide to put more focus into like our similarities, right? Like our similarities, like seeing what is what connects us, you know, what commonalities we share between us, right? Yeah. So, yeah, there's a few points I missed here. I mean, obviously, I've already kind of mentioned them, but it's just kind of pinpointing them. So yeah, you know, like I mentioned, you know, lying doesn't have to be, you know, you know, explicitly lying to someone. Again, you know, this goes back to, like, you know, when I was saying about subtlety, it's always like kind of more sinister than like something that is explicit, right? You know, yeah, so it doesn't have to be something explicit lie, but like, you know, when it's kind of misdirection, when it's designed to to kind of mislead you, but you know, it's not technically lying. You know, they're not technically like giving you false information. They're just kind of concealing something and emphasizing something. And like, you know, the kind of motivation. So, you know, I've talked about motivation, the inherent motivation in their actions. You know, if they're purposely like meaning to kind of mislead you, then, you know, that's lying. But you know, yeah, going back to the kind of human perspective, you know, like I realize, you know, you have to lie in society. You have to lie, right? You can't. Well, it depends which route you take, right? You could kind of just like denounce all kinds of lying and just kind of be like radically honest, as it's called. Like there's something called radical honesty. But yeah, that might work. But you know, that comes with its own kind of pitfalls, right? But you know, if you want to play the game, like if you want to go from like the game up, then yeah, you have to lie basically, in order to get to a spot where you don't have to lie, right? That's the paradox. You have to lie in order to not lie sometimes, and you know, if you can basically do that, then you'll probably be successful, you know, which is like the weird thing. But anyway, that's been today's entry, giving you a perspective on that. So cool. Hope this has been helpful and has given you some perspective. So I will see you in the next entry. Peace.